What's going on, Algebra Bros? In this video, we're going to go ahead and do some composition function evaluations. So we do have two particular functions provided to us. F of x is x squared minus 3x, and g of x is equal to 4x. And we want to use each of these two functions in order to evaluate the composition function at particular values of x. So let's jump right into it. In part A, we have f of g of 4. And keep in mind that you kind of want to think backwards in how you operate with the composition notation. So for instance, the first function we'd actually be using here is is g of x, and then whatever comes out of g of 4 is going to get plugged into f of x. So in other words, we have to figure out what f of g of 4 is. Okay, I'll kind of break off for a second here to figure out what g of 4 is. And to figure out g of 4, we have to plug it into g of x. That'll give us 4 times 4, which equals 16. So f of g of 4 really boils down to figuring out what f of 16 is. And so what we'll have to do is take 16 and plug it into all the x's of f of x. So we're going to get 16 quantity squared minus 3 times 16, and 16 squared is 256, and then 3 times 16 is 48, and 256 minus 48 is 208. And that would be our answer to this problem. Moving on to example part B, we want g of f of 1. And keep in mind, you want to work a little bit backwards with the notation. In other words, the first function that you're going to use is f of x. So you'll plug 1 into f of x, and then whatever that result comes out to be is going to get plugged into g of x. So notationally speaking, we're trying to figure out g of f of 1. So let's break off for a second, figure out what f of 1 is. F of 1 is 1 squared minus 3 times 1, or in other words, 1 minus 3, which gives us negative 2. So what g of f of 1 boils down to is g of negative 2, and that's going to be figured out by doing 4 times negative 2, which gives us negative 8. Part C is kind of a curiosity. Here we're composing a function with itself, which is definitely something that can happen with this operation. So even though it's f of negative 2, we'll still operate in the same way as we were doing with example part A and part B. So we'll first plug negative 2 into the function f of x, and then whatever comes out of that will get plugged back into the function f of x. So in other words, we're going to figure out f of negative 2. We'll break off and figure out what f of negative 2 is. That's going to be found by doing negative 2 squared minus 3 times negative 2. In other words, that's 4 plus 6, giving us 10. So what this boils down to is figuring out what f of 10 is. And we can figure that out by doing 10 squared minus 3 times 10, which is 100 minus 30, giving us a final answer of 70. And that's how we evaluate composition functions with specific values of x. And that's where this video is going to end. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.